So some of you guys are worried because you're not insured in your detailing business and you don't have a way to fix damage if you actually do. So I want to give you guys kind of my own experience of damaging a customer's car, as well as the most commonly damaged areas of particularly the interior in my over 10 years of experience detailing cars. So let me jump right into the first area of the interior that I think is most dangerous for detailers who aren't thinking about it, and that is going to be the navigation screen as well as the speedometer, the plastic housing where the speedometer sits behind that area. I want to give you guys the main ways people tend to damage these things. Number one, people will spray all-purpose cleaner or just their regular cleaner that they use on the navigation screen. Understand that basically in every situation, in every car, no matter if it's a Mercedes or a Kia, you are going to want to use something far more gentle, if not just a microfiber towel dampened with water on a navigation screen, because they're just so fragile. So to be totally frank, I actually really do suggest 100% of the time just using water. Okay, it's the easiest way to pull fingerprints off. It's a fine way to clean it. Yeah, they're really not difficult to clean in the first place, okay? But second of all, the other product that tends to work really easily is a 32-ounce spray bottle diluted with like half a capful or a capful of Optimum No Rinse, or the product Meguiar's Quick Interior Detailer that can be picked up at like Walmart or Amazon, whatever. Now, in terms of the speedometer, the way that detailers get themselves into trouble here is when they use something like a steamer or even cleaner, spraying it directly onto that area. Those areas are not sealed most of the time. So if you use a steamer or you just spray chemical, it generally seeps down into the plastic and it gets behind the plastic housing. Sometimes when you use a steamer, it starts to fog up behind the speedometer and it'll go away sometimes and it won't go away other times. It's kind of like getting water inside of a headlight. It just starts to condense and you can see it forever. Now, the second area I want to highlight are the electrical components underneath seats that move a seat backwards, forwards, up, and down. Oftentimes, detailers who are not thinking, even without chemical, are just jamming a vacuum or a steamer or whatever underneath a seat, and they even sometimes just unplug something and they don't damage it, but all of a sudden the seat doesn't move forward and backwards and the customer's wondering, hey, what'd you do to my seat? And of course, you guys can see in these videos, because the seats are actually pulled out, those electrical components exposed. But a simple way to avoid this is just to make sure that you're not blasting steam or blasting chemical or shoving a vacuum or a steamer back there, because it's a very easy place to damage. Now, before I jump into the third area that's easy to damage, where I actually had to pay $850 to fix years ago, I just want to let you guys know I'm hosting a live free training on May 11th, where I'm going to be talking about how to scale to 6 figures in your detailing business using ceramic coatings. So it's not for everybody, but if you're interested because you've been wanting to get into ceramic coatings, you want to learn the business model, you want to learn exactly how to scale from 0 to 100,000 a year by using high ticket services in your detailing business, this training is definitely for you. I'm also at the end of the free training going to be opening up access to something that I haven't opened up in over a year. So I want to make sure if you want to get in, you can register your spot with the link in the YouTube description box below. The seats do fill up and we will cap it out just like we do every year. And I only do this about once or twice a year. So make sure to jump in if you're interested. Now let's get back into the video. The third easy place to damage is going to be the leather seats. Now, to give you guys the exact scenario that happened to me years ago when I was kind of a young buck and didn't know what I was doing, leather obviously starts to crack over time, particularly on the driver's side, because anytime anybody's in the car, you have the driver in the car. And so it's basically the most used seat of a car. That's what I'm trying to say. And oftentimes on the edge, which basically borders the outside door, that area starts to crack because that's where people slide in and slide out. It's kind of the most abused area, let's say. And then that on top of sunlight and just heat, it starts to crack over time. Well, if you're not used to cleaning leather seats, and years ago I was not, and you spray chemical on a cracked area and try to scrub it, not only are you going to get that chemical kind of seeping into the, let's say, threading of the seat that's beneath the leather, but you're also going to pull off more and more of that leather that looks kind of like it has leprosy because it's just kind of scaling and falling off already. Well, one time I started scrubbing one of those pieces with a non-abrasive scrub pad, found that on my blue pad I had a bunch of tan leather, so I actually had to pay $850 to have somebody reupholster that part of their leather seat. And fortunately for me, it wasn't a functional issue, it was just a visual issue, so it was a relatively cheap fix, but I was not insured at that time or anything like that, so it was a big learning curve. But my point is, ever since then, I basically won't touch heavily cracked leather seats, and I barely touch leather seats that are kind of cracked. It's part of the detailer's job to figure out where the damage is and how far you can and can't go depending on the area, so that's something to be very hyper aware of. Now, the fourth area I want to highlight is the white lettering that's on areas like the radio buttons or the window buttons or just buttons in general in the car, especially on an older vehicle with a lot of dirt piled up on those buttons because it's not detailed on a regular basis. It is very easy to even lightly clean those buttons and pull off the white lettering, right? So you can no longer see, for example, on the radio button where it says seek or track, and that can be very distasteful to a customer. So in situations like that, I actually do tend to use something like Optimum No Rinse on a damp microfiber towel, and I just lightly rub until I can see that that dirt is pulled off. Luckily, dirt on those areas is normally like body oils, dirt from your fingertips from actually pressing those areas, and it doesn't always take some heavy cleaner to do it. So it's easier and better to take a little bit more time to clean with a really gentle cleaner and pull that dirt off than it is to go in with all-purpose cleaner, or P&S Interior Express cleaner even can do this and pull off that white lettering. Now, the last area that's really easy to find yourself in some trouble if you're not experienced is extracting. Now, the number one thing I would say causes this is extracting carpets or upholstery when it's not warm and it's not sunny outside. In my experience, and detailers hate to admit this because we kind of want to control everything, but the reality is the elements, in my opinion, have more to do with whether or not the extraction goes poorly or well. More often than not, I have found if you extract heavily a car that really needs it in the cold weather or in cloudy conditions, the owner is going to call you a little while later and say, hey, it smells mildewy in here. Can you come back and fix this? Because even when you have industrial fans blowing in the car, the quickest way to dry something and get rid of any type of mildewy smell is just the sun and the heat. If it's an extreme scenario, I actually never extract unless it's sunny outside and it's warm, or I can control the conditions. Now, all of this kind of brings me to my conclusion, because the reality is the easiest way to not damage an interior is to use a cleaner that's not really a cleaner, right? It's really just to protect the interior because the car you're working on is already clean. So I've built my business really on maintenance clients where I don't have to do a bunch of deep cleaning, and that's why I use most of the time on interiors things like Meguiar's Synthetic Express Spray Wax, Optimum No Rinse, Technician's Choice Ceramic Spray, because most of the things I'm doing is just very light dusting and reapplying a simple protectant into the interior. So if you really want to avoid damage, it's best to start on a canvas that really isn't dirty and doesn't really require heavy cleaners or all-purpose cleaners in the first place, at least for the majority of the detail. Now, I will be linking up what I suggest for interior cleaners as your go-to, as well as interior protectants as your go-to, and the list is really, really straightforward, and you can find that in the YouTube description box below. And like I said, if you want to register for the live free training I'm hosting on May 11th to teach you guys how to get into ceramic coatings, scale your detailing business, bring in customers online, use online video in a way that nobody else is using, make sure to register before those spots fill up, and I'll see you guys there. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next video.